Singing groups who gather for fun and well-being are proliferating around Australia and overseas. The many benefits of group singing, psychological, physical, and social, are well known and have attracted a lot of research attention. But what about those people who facilitate these groups? I'm Belinda Densley, a PhD candidate, and I've been facilitating singing groups for decades. My research focuses on the role of the facilitator. I'm investigating the process of facilitation and how it may influence the participant benefits. I'm asking, what do we know, what do we do, and what works? You will hear the voices of singing facilitators throughout this story. After all, we love to harmonise with other voices. So what is the process of singing facilitation? It all starts with advocacy. If you meet a singing facilitator, they will swiftly tell you you can sing, despite whatever may have happened in your past.
So I definitely have values around that music is everyone's birthright to be involved in and share. And I dislike how, there is this sense of you only do it if you have a good voice or you have, the background and you have training, and that's not the way humans have evolved. I don't know why we've gone to the point that it's felt so exclusive that way.
Oh, God, it's complicated, isn't it? Because, if I think back to being taught music when I was a kid, it was terribly taught. There were so many, you can't sing, shut up or go and do something else or whatever. There was so much judgment in it. No wonder people got scared off it all. It was just horribly taught.
Not only do singing facilitators believe in a birthright to sing, they passionately believe in singing with others, and not for later. It's not about preparing for a performance, although that can be fun. It's about being here now. Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. The facilitators I spoke with think this type of singing is misunderstood.
I think people get the idea of coming together and singing in a choir is a really standard thing. But singing for fun, to be with other people, is not so well understood.
And I think, when you're singing with a group, when we're adults, we've all forgotten, or a lot of us forgotten, what it was like to be kids, when we didn't give a shit about anything, and we'd run around. I've said this a few times. Running through the paddock without our pants on as little kids, like, who cares? Doesn't matter. And I said, what happened to us? What happened to those kids, that lived without fear and, were free and would sing and dance?
And there is something particular about singing that distinguishes it from music making generally.
There's something really safe about having an instrument. Your voice is a much more vulnerable thing.
The COVID-19 pandemic led to lockdowns, particularly in Victoria, Australia, where I live. This forced isolation gave us a new perspective on the benefits of group singing because we experienced what it was to go without it. Zoom singing and virtual choirs were hasty and heartfelt replicas, but they were no substitute. In fact, they highlighted what we gain when standing shoulder to shoulder in a circle of singers. Nikki ran a weekly Zoom meeting on behalf of Community Music Victoria, where she supported facilitators who were trying to keep their groups going online.
That different vibe about being on Zoom, of being in a space live with people so that you could feel the vibration of the sound. And I thought that was really interesting, that having another perspective on vibrating in harmony, standing next to someone, being able to feel that you're in their vibrational orbit. You can actually feel that voice. And so it wasn't just about the general sound in the room, but about specific sounds you make when you stand next to a particular person. I found it fascinating that we sometimes realise what's important when it's not there.
Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up, give up. Strength to you when you're in the dark. Give up, make the spark, give up, of your lightning and thunder come through.
Singing facilitators have a strong sense of purpose. In fact, they advocate for various purposes that can be addressed via singing. but the singing in and of itself is still really important. It's not the outcome of singing, it's not the polished final piece, it's the process of making songs with others.
I'm going to have another session where we explicitly say about that, not criticising ourselves or others, not aiming for perfection, but aiming for some kind of catharsis or ethos that that brings you a sense of joy in the music if it's joyful, or sadness if it's sad, but not aiming for exactly the notes or whatever, just really that it's a inward to outward experience rather than a kind of a judgmental experience.
Make no mistake that the lack of perfectionism leads to a mediocre sound. These facilitators, like the singers they gather, address many purposes around the central beauty of song.
We are marching to where justice begins. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching to where justice begins.
That reflects me. I passionately believe in social justice and love singing for purpose, as well as for the beauty of singing, definitely.
So we know singing facilitators believe everyone can sing, that singing is different from music making, and that group singing doesn't need to be a didactic rehearsal style process aimed at a later goal. Instead, facilitators say singing is a human right, a path of self-expression, and it upholds a dying oral tradition.
Same. Yesterday, 3 groups I did, 2 in the morning, 1 in the evening. This song, I don't know if you know it, it's called Remembering Who We Are. It's just a little snippet from one of her long ones, and I'm looking around the room and we're singing, yo, 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 we are, remembering who we are, remembering why we're here, we are, remembering we are one, we are. And it just keeps rolling round, and I'm just looking kind of, it's exactly what we're doing.
And why am I calling them facilitators? The word facilitator comes from the Latin facile, to make easy, and facilitators are all about making singing together easy.
Listen till we understand. Listen till we understand. Listen till we understand. The other bit, listen, learn, struggle. Listen, learn, struggle, yearn, wonder, let it all take a turn. Listen, learn, struggle, yearn, wonder, let it all take a turn.
It is a musical role and it's a relational role. And very experienced facilitators know it's so much more than singing. Let's listen now to how the advocacy of the singing facilitator also relates to community, to well-being, and to the role of facilitation itself.
Knowing we are going towards harmony that's more than notes in a chord. Let it wash over easily. Singing, we've been singing long before we learn to speak.
Gathering groups to sing forms, builds, sustains, and connects communities.
It started where people basically would ask me to say, can you teach me that song? Can we do that? So it very organically started as a need, really, and a need within a community. It came out of that I have the ability, and that what I found was it would just be something that would enhance any type of community.
And it was started because my infant welfare centre sister of my young children, whose daughter I was teaching piano to, came to me and said, in her role, in her job, dealing with women every day, the only recreational thing for women to do was play a sport. And she recognised that not everyone wants to play a sport. So she said, I think we need to start a choir, a women's choir. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. I'll join that choir too. I had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, I'll join that choir. And she said, no, I thought you would lead the choir. And I said, I've never led a choir before. And she said, that's okay, you can do it. Like, she's one of those people that throws down the gauntlet and you kind of don't say no.
As existing research shows, the social bonding that occurs in singing groups is rapid.
Well, the purpose of my work is to connect community. It's to bring people together. I mean, I just find singing is an incredible leveler. Like suddenly we're all in this experience together, and it brings you immediately music into your heart. It takes away the head and the analysis, and people relax in a way that you just, the focus is on the song, the focus is on me, it's not on each other. People let down their barriers, so it's all about that kind of shared experience that can happen really fast. Music that could take, spending several days together in some sort of a community situation for people to get to where they're going to get to really quickly when you start singing.
Community development can also be enduring. The facilitators I spoke with had all been sustaining singing groups for decades, and they sometimes also respond to events where the community requires rebuilding, such as after a drought or collective trauma. Singing facilitators believe this is an important part of their role.
I think community building is the most important activity anyone can be doing. That's what's going to see us through climate change upheaval. That's what's going to see us through all the challenges that are coming our way and are already here. It's anti-capitalist work. Capitalism is what got us into and colonialism is what got us into this mess. And what will get us out is connected communities working together in various ways. And I just love music. And that's my way to bring people together.
Fundamentally built into me is also that community responsibility and leadership and community building through a shared activity. So that was kind of already in my makeup. So I was primed really to become a community musician, and then found music, and that was just the perfect tool. Choirs, really, the perfect tool to bring all of those things together.
We'll talk later about what happens when communities connect and transform through the facilitation of singing. But let's stay with advocacy. Singing for well-being of individuals and communities is another flag waved by singing facilitators. This concept of well-being is distinct from therapy or therapeutic. These words describe the treatment of a wound or a disease. Instead, the stance on well-being can be conceptualised as salutogenic, that which promotes health, thriving and flourishing. Eudaimonia is a broader term for the type of well-being singing facilitators talk about. It acknowledges both the individual and collective facets of well-being and embraces flourishing in the human condition through happy and not happy feelings.
Feel the moments joyful, hopeful and bleak. Feel the moments courageous, watchful and meek. Feel the moments, look at me here now, all we can see. Split. Singing, we've been singing long before we learn to speak.
We'll revisit eudaimonia a little later, but notice here the advocacy for singing and well-being.
I don't think culturally we do value or understand the true importance of community singing and community music, actually.
I really feel like we're living in a world, particularly it's getting more and more that way, where it's really easy to be isolated. And I have a sort of a bigger picture with my whole thing. There's a bigger agenda underneath it all, and that is that we as a society need to fight to stay connected. Why have we got these bigger social issues? Why have we got the highest mental health issues? Why have we got mass anxiety? That is, to me, directly associated with a lack of connection. And I just think that we're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be in a village. We're meant to have people around us. Get quite emotional, actually. That's what's is underpinning everything I do, is that we need to be connected. And not just, I need it. It's like I struggle with isolation as well. I get up in the morning sometimes and, we live in Tasmania, it's cold, I'm rural. For me, and I say this to this is my mental health.
What we do is good. I think we should never forget it. Never forget the importance of this. It's universal in the human community, in any culture. People get together and sing for all sorts of reasons. And in our culture, the cult of the celebrity or the cult of perfection or the cult of whatever, that divides us and that puts us down and makes us feel infinitesimally, insignificant, you are overcoming, or you're saying, yeah, in some sense, it's an up yours to the wider culture that says you're nothing. We're affirming joy, we're affirming the good, we're affirming delight, whether we're actually making it, we're affirming it in the spot, we're bringing it forth.
We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder. We belong to the sound of the words we're both falling under. Whatever we deny or embrace, for worse or for better, we belong together.
Singing facilitators feel enormously valued by their participants. Some think perhaps their participants don't see all the layers in the work, but they certainly feel very valued by the people who attend their groups, and this, along with the singing itself, makes the role really rewarding. But who are these facilitators, and what matters to them?
I was sort of acutely aware at the beginning how the choir directors that had preceded me were very nurturing and caring and humanitarian people, and I wasn't. I looked at myself and I thought, I haven't always been that kind of person, and if I'm going to work with this choir, I really have to adopt more of that care and those qualities. So it's been a good learning experience for me as a human being.
Singing facilitators are musical beings. They have skills and they develop these on the job, but they agree that they can enact the role with sufficient musical skills, not necessarily elite musical skills.
We're not musically trained as such, not in the conventional way. What we understand to be musicality and what we understand to be musical training and is very much focused on the outcome and performance. And so it's also the role of the facilitator to change that kind of cultural understanding of what is musically trained to, and to shift cultural thinking around what it is to be musical, what it is to be a musician, what it is to be a singer. Part of the role of the facilitator is holding that flag, really.
It's important to be present to the various levels of significance, from knowing the impact of singing to knowing the songs.
It's really reliant. You have to be on the ball, and you have to have your shit together. You have to know your stuff, or it just doesn't work. One thing I've learned really, really much is that whatever's going on for me, the choir reflects that right back at me. So if I'm feeling like crap, they have a crap time. But if I can bring it and I'm there and I know my parts and I know what I'm doing and I'm confident and I go, I've got you guys, I've got you. This is not going to fall apart because I've got you, then it'll go swimmingly well.
But though it's a role, is singing facilitation a job? That's another thing facilitators work hard to advocate for. They feel unseen and misunderstood in wider contexts.
Hugely misunderstood. I'm literally making a presentation right now, Belinda, for councils, for them to really understand. I've got a Venn diagram: arts and culture, community development, education, and then health and wellness, and then community music sitting in the middle.
There's all these aspects to the work that are just not acknowledged. But there's this huge network of people just doing this either as a side hustle or trying to make it work. And I certainly would really own the fact that we are community builders, community changers. We are life changers. We've all seen it. We've seen it time and time again. Regardless of the people we're working with, we are changing lives and helping facilitate happiness and joy.
It's more than just facilitating singing. You're actually facilitating community building in a way that I don't think social scientists don't fully understand. The arts industry doesn't understand almost at all. So, when we try and seek funding for this very, very important work, most of the times you hit a brick wall because you're not seen as an arts worker. You're not seen as...
Well, you're not seen as actually not seen as a musician.
No, you're not seen as a musician.
Yeah.
The role of group singing facilitation begins with advocating, and that continues throughout the process, calling out for singing participation, community development, well-being, and for the singing facilitation role itself.
It's not what we're called, it's how we are calling. It's not where
Join me and the beautiful voices of the generous participants and singers as we turn now to the next phase of the process, curating. For a list of song credits and contributing participants who might have a singing group near you, please read the credit notes.
Here we are.